Was a big yellow box for identification that uses FTIR technology, and that's what our True Defender uses. So there's two technologies that are most often used for chemical ID for hazmat, and the reason you need both is because Raman doesn't see everything and FTIR doesn't see everything, but you put them together, it gives you a pretty good comprehensive picture of most of the chemicals you're going to run into out there. And we'll talk about the limitations and advantages of both. But the original first Defender came out just over 10 years ago. Our True Defender, our portable device, came out 2008. And as you've mentioned, we've done upgrades to them. So the second generation product of the first Defender is the first Defender RMX. That came out in 2010, probably what you saw down in Anniston. This has about half the size, half the weight of the original first Defender, but even more importantly, I would say it's 3 to 5 times faster in terms of giving you an answer. It's really amazing how quickly this can actually identify the chemical and tell you information about it. It also adds some cool features like a flexible probe. You could choose to get the first Defender without the probe or with the probe, with a little bit more money to get the probe, but it gives you a really nice tactical advantage of being able to position scans. So one of the great features of this device is it has a scan delay feature. So if you're concerned about explosives, energetic material, you can actually set it up, move out of the hot zone, let it do its thing, and wait for the time's allotted and come back in and you're safe, right? So that's one of the most important things, probably the most important thing we preach about with identification is safety. The FBI, FDNY bought 28 of our devices last year. They went with the full first Defender, True Defender suite. PD, Chicago Fire, LA Fire, Boston, Baltimore, a lot of the bigger services. I should have Indianapolis on here for this one. Indy Fire and Indy Police have our gear too. Okay. So here's the kit. Oh, I skipped that. I thought there was something else here. So in the Seabird Kit, you know, you've got your biological tests, your radiological tests. People ask about being able to test for bio with our gear. We do not recommend that. We recommend that you use something specifically designed for bio, like a 2020 check, biocheck type system. Rule that out first. Same with rad. You want to use your rad meters first, and before you even consider taking out our instruments. So if you have a true hazmat incident, you want to rule out bio, rule out rad. And then our gear is designed specifically for chemicals, liquids and solids only, not gases. So just liquids and solids is what we're going to be talking about today. It's also not a trace detector, so these devices will not detect cocaine on a dollar bill or anything like that. It's called bulk detection, but you don't need a lot. I'm talking a pinhead size amount is all you need. I can even just have the bottom of this vial, basically 5 drops of a liquid. You should be able to identify it. Here. So, suspicious substance. We may have an unknown. We don't know what it is. Is it a chemical threat? Is it an explosive? We're not quite sure. Sometimes it's very obvious that it's a clear threat, but not always, right? If you guys do have like a bomb squad, do you call in Indy? Do they come out here in Metro?
We have our own.
You have your own here at the police. Okay, cool. So I don't think they have any of our instruments today.
They do not.
They do not. Okay. The cool thing about our devices, right? If I have a container like this, I can identify the white powder inside. Now, there's a lot of safety precautions we want to follow before we even consider it. You know, one of the big things we talk about is small sample sizes. If you have a large sample size, the bigger the ignition or impact, right? But white powders and liquids with the first Defender, you don't need to worry about. It's the dark solids that you really need to be concerned about. So we'll talk about the safety precautions to follow, but small vials, we can actually identify the chemical inside without disturbing the container, without touching it. Sometimes we may have a not so clear threat. So we have a clear container. I'm not sure what this ecto-cooler, antifreeze type stuff is in here, but we'll find out. But we can go right through that container. Some containers are easier to get through than others. You have to be able to see through it. So like a pill bottle, depending on how opaque it is, we might be able to get through it, right? So if you can hold it up to the light and see through it, chances are good you can identify it. But it won't go through like a beer can, like a Coke can. Beer bottle, it should be able to get through though. So a couple quick success stories. Of people using this in the real world. If anybody remembers the underwear bomber, it's 2009 now, going back a ways, but near Detroit, Warren Fire Department's a customer of ours. They actually used the original first Defender, the Ahura FD, to positively identify the PETN that he smuggled inside his underwear, and luckily he was unable to detonate it. It was very important to be able to quickly identify the explosives that was used, and that the Ahura came through for that. UPS is one of our customers as well. This is the printer cargo incident back in 2010 now. They used our devices as well to identify PETN again, and lead azide as well, the detonator. You can also identify precursors with the device, so it has a full library of explosives as well as precursors as well. One more story here for you guys. In 2011, this is in California, Escondido, California, San Diego County. A gentleman was renting a home and making homemade explosives in the house he was renting. A gardener actually triggered one of the explosions, and they called the bomb squad in. Bomb squad comes in, bomb type fully suits up, triggers another explosion. Luckily, both of these guys were not seriously injured. Amazingly, they were okay. But what they discovered when they brought the RMX, the local hazmat team had the RMX, and the bomb squad came in and they identified the white powder explosive as HMTD. And to this day, it's probably the largest known cache or collection of HMTD ever found. And this is the mess they found inside. I'm not sure if you guys have actually seen this study or heard about it, but it was amazing the fact that they could never guarantee the safety of the people inside because of the booby traps, right? They had the outside was booby trapped. They didn't know what was inside the walls, so they actually had to do a controlled burn and level the whole building. So lesson, if you're ever renting out your house, make sure you check up on it once in a while. Huge lesson learned there. Both of these devices do kind of the same thing. So sometimes a 6-cent strip of pH paper will tell you even more than our instrument, right? You want to know if it's an acid or base, right? So this is just classification. You know, what is this, an acid or a base? Then you've got your HazCat kit. So you guys using this for just categorization, right? Is it a flammable? Is it poison? The next generation or the next wave is true identification, being able to specifically state what the chemical is and can this chemical hurt me? And that's what our devices do. So full library of explosives. There's over 12,000 chemicals in the first Defender and over 11,000 chemicals in the True Defender as well. Okay. So both of these devices do the same thing. They capture a fingerprint. Raman uses the laser, and the laser analyzes the scattering of light and what's reflected back into the sensor. The FTIR analyzes the absorption of light and what's absorbed into the sensor. And every chemical has a unique way it interacts with that technology, and we capture a fingerprint. So that chemical fingerprint is called a spectra. Much like a fingerprint the FBI would look for on a human, we look for this fingerprint match. And this is probably the unique part of the Ahura Thermo software now as well, is our software analyzes specifically where these peaks are along the curve to give you a true fingerprint match. Other devices out there use a mathematical formula, and they'll measure the area under this curve and give you the 10 closest matches. Usually the first answer is correct, but not always. Sometimes you have to do some interpretation. The goal of our devices is to rule that interpretation out. Just give you the specific answer. Tell me what this is. Is it a single positive match? Is it a mixture? And give you that information right away. FTIR being press and shoot. Now, given the choice, I probably would want to have a Raman device first. That's what Kyle and I have been talking about, because it gives you that tactical advantage of getting through the containers. It's ideal to have both, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably want to have a first Defender for that tactical advantage. So here are containers that can see through. I can even get through like a sugar packet, a sweet and low packet. You can hold it up to the light and see through it. Let's see if I even have one up here too.